Welcome to Midgardsblot, a place in Norway where black metal and heathen metal, pagan metal, Vikings, everything seemed to collide. And now we have this faceless entity from a Portuguese band, Gaerea. We don't know his name, we don't know his role, and frankly speaking, we don't give a shit. Oh, I'm just fucking with you people. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Nice to have you here. You just played a show. Obviously, this video will come quite a bit later than today, but first let's tackle the first element in the room. Your live was aggressive, it was fierce, it was kicking ass, but also a little bit different how you sound on albums, meaning you are more aggressive on stage. Was this totally something that you do intentionally, or is it more like something that just happens because of a live situation?
I don't know, man. I think it's just how we feel the songs live. We just love to do it, and it's how we perceive the whole band happening. For us, it's 10% what we do at home in the studio, and then all the rest is performing live and just sharing this experience with other people. So I think it all bleeds through what we do live, which is a very explosive performance. But again, we don't force anything. If you saw an explosive performance, because we were feeling really good on stage and very comfortable and really happy to be here. Yeah.
The thing here is why I have so like a strong feeling about it is it was like earlier today when at the hotel I was playing your music to my photographer because she had never heard it, and I wanted to give like her a little bit of an insight what's this band all about, and she was picking my brain in a little bit like how I would describe your music. And like maybe if you like Embois, Uada and the like, you're roughly in the same box. Roughly every band is a different and unique.
Yeah.
But like I said, on stage you're not so much holding back as in order to build this atmosphere, but almost like setting things on fire. You had your mic standing, going away, and it seems like you're already going to throw your instruments to the audience.
Yeah.
But I think it was great. But how was the audience responding to this kind of a fierceness?
Well, I think people love to see live music because it transports them to somewhere else. And I always thought we could be a nice weapon on that transition. For us, it's not about performing the songs exactly how people listen to them in the album, because that's already an experience people can have. For us, it's just being humans transporting or transposing emotions to other people and having nothing on stage, so people can just watch this body language moved performance can be exactly what we want. And I think, well, at some point, what we use as an outfit can be not so comfortable because everything just starts to sweat, everything just starts to be more difficult to bear. But I guess it's something we like because it helps us through the whole set to just, to get our minds to somewhere else. And I think it happens with the audience as well. Well, from what we can see, people can enjoy it. People can close their eyes and just, go to another dimension, because it's what we do at some point on set. Because everything just becomes so uncomfortable and so unbearable because of the whole energy, and the masks are uncomfortable because they're supposed to be. So I guess it's a mutual thing where we can all go somewhere else in our minds, at least for the people that are open to do so.
Now that you mentioned these hoodies, it's important and vital to say to the people that you look like more like a gang of kind of super sneaky ninjas or superheroes wearing those outfits and your trademark masks, which are also used as your mic stands and guitar stands and whatever. And you have created this interesting image and style since the very beginning. Why did you decide to go to the upstream versus the rest of the bands, like more like, spikes and corpse paints and whatever, and instead you decide to hide yourself with hoods and all?
Well, we don't come from a country that has a cultural, heritage on black metal. Of course, we have many awesome names. Our biggest band in Portugal used to be a black metal band in the 90s. But again, Well, me personally, even though I love some of these bands, for example, Watain is probably my favorite band ever, we never identified our music and the way we create music as something like that. It just seemed something very urbanistic, something more modern, because it's the environment we live in. We live in a city that is constantly changing and getting more modern and changing itself and reshaping itself, which is Porto in Portugal. And I guess we let so much of that into our creativity and how we perceive the city in our concept that we always saw ourselves as a very urbanistic band that fits in the city, even though we hate the city as a whole, because it lacks all the things that we try to do on stage, all the emotion. But I guess it's how society is right now. So yeah, I think it's that. We never saw ourselves as a ritualistic band, because we're not, by all means, but a more humanistic, utopian band that would love and hate humans, because that's our main source of inspiration. So that's where we get all of these things from, and
So compared to a lot of, especially Norwegian and Nordic bands in general, who seem to more or less kind of embrace nature and forests and lakes and in general worship the nature kind of a thing, you're more like an urban answer to that thing in a modern ways.
Oh, I would think so. Yeah, everything in our concept is inside the city, and how we transform the city throughout every album. It can be this very Inception-esque city. It can be a very simplistic, minimalistic city as well. But it always surrounds the city. So yeah, well, we're not competing against nature or all the other bands. I just think we're doing something that pleases us, and it's good for us, and it always drives more inspiration because it's so vast as nature. So I guess it's just another take on how to look at things.
Now you're also quite a young band, especially compared to the so-called veterans of black metal scene. I mean, you've been with this band less than 10 years in the making, and you already have your third album coming out in 2020, September. What is your secret sauce to this kind of a success? You've already been able to get quite a nice of a label, one of the bigger ones in extreme metal, and you have been doing wonderful job with the albums, creating good music. Do you think you will pump this well out of its water, or do you have lots of energy and gasoline in your tank to, you know, fit the needs and requirements of the audience?
Well, we are as much inspired and creative and eager to conquer everything in our way as never before. We just got out of 2 really bad years, still good ones for us, because we released an album that got, well, nice praise from everybody during the pandemic, Limbo. But I guess, well, we tried to, it's not that we set that goal of releasing an album every 2 years, but it's something that happens because we tour massively during the first one, and then when we go home, I think inspiration just kicks in, and we just write another record, go to the studio, and be done with it and start, well, promoting a new record. I think it's how we work, how we, well, set up the machine to work on that way. It's not that, again, we plan it, it just happens. So yeah, I don't know how we'll be next year. I don't know if we will be writing a new album in a few months. Probably not, because we want to tour as much as we can now that we didn't do it for the last 2 years. So yeah, we might break the cycle of 2 years. But I'm happy that we managed to be this regular and this constant, because it's something that I always had in the back of my head that, well, it takes work, and if you want to achieve something, you should work every day for it, and it's what we do as a whole unit. We work every day for this band.
Now, would you then consider yourself more a live band first and a studio album band second?
Yeah. Now, these days we just love to tour. We love to be at festivals. We love to meet people. We love to share or debate stuff with people, our concept, or just visions of the world. Because, as I said, we get inspired from it. We get inspired from all the nice and weird people we meet along the way, and the only way we can be inspired from people is to actually meet them, because everything is so futile through a computer screen that yeah, it's just obsolete for me. So we're really happy to have this massive year that we're having, where we do more than 100 shows. We're doing these festivals, and then we have a massive tour with Gaul, and we go to Latin America. So yeah, it'll be the last 4 months of this year will be very hectic for us, and we're really happy to do it. I really can't wait for every show, because, well, that's the goals we set up ourselves to do. So just better grab the bull by the horns and do it.
So to ask a stupid question, how do you get in contact with the people? How do you get to meet them when you're also hiding your identity and your personalities behind this ninja suit?
Well, I guess people, if you're at a festival or if you're at a show, it's really hard to spot on who is just on stage. And we sign stuff. We love to talk to people. We're not that misanthropic or beasts from the beyond. We have our ideals. We perceive them very truthfully, in my opinion, on stage and creating music. It's everything for me. But I also like to have these conversations, and if people just bump into us and ask for take a photo or just chat a bit or go for beers, we'll fucking do it, because we love that.
So you're not that misanthropic, but more like actually ready to interact with fans and the like.
We are. Well, there's a lot of visions or ideals that we wrote in the first records that would be very different today, because as more as you travel, as more as you speak to people, and I'm sure you agree with this, your visions change of the world.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, you have this vision that you grew up with, and you think the world's like this, but then you start to travel. You go to Germany a few times. You go to China, as we did, and the whole world gets vaster and bigger, and
expanding
expanding everything. And again, there are things that we wrote in the first album, the Unsettling Whispers album, and I'm happy we did it, because it's a product from that past, but it would be different these days, and we explore them differently these days on stage, on some of the songs that we play live. It's just different for us, and I'm happy to change my mind as the years go by, because it means that we're growing as artists and humans.
Do you ever feel like you might kind of have to abandon some of the early stuff, like, okay, these are the lyrics, I cannot sing anymore because that wouldn't feel honest? Or is it more like, I'm gonna turn a blind eye for this one so that we can be truthful to the band's history and heritage?
Yeah. I love the first steps we did as a band. They were very, well, some of them very childish, but I guess it's how bands start. But I'm happy for all of them, even the masks and what we have in them, and well, some of those elements that do not fit right into what we're doing now, I will always keep them, because it reminds me of how we started, and some of those first steps, initial steps that were crucial for us to fuck up here or grow up there. I will keep all of these elements, and for example, some of the lyrics, we will never change the lyrics or just not perform a song because of the lyrics. We choose the songs in the set because of the atmosphere, or if we're playing this festival, it's more like this or like that. So we try to contextualize the live set list through, well, where are we playing at? So yeah, I'm very proud of all the things we wrote. There's not a single word or riff or anything that I don't want to play because, I don't identify with this anymore. Of course, I don't identify with some of the stuff already, but it's part of, well, that period, and we should be proud of it.
Which is more important for Gaerea, lyrics or music?
Lyrics.
Why?
Well, because it's the foundation of everything we do. Not just the lyrics, but the whole concept and the texts we write in the booklets. It's everything for me. There's no music without that. And we start every album with the concept, writing a few ideas, visualizing the whole world that we will fit this album in. and then the music starts to appear, and well, soundscaping some of these visuals that I have in my head. I can't work otherwise. I know that a lot of artists would write music and then create lyrics for it, but I just work in another, well, mindset, I guess. Because yeah, it needs to fit the concept, not the otherwise. I would never write lyrics to fit the atmosphere of the song. I know it might sound weird, but everything is about concept for us. That's why the gigs and everything we do is so visual and again, visual, because it's supposed to be like that for us. It's not about just blast beats and going nuts on stage. Everything for us has a context, and if we put blast beats there, it's because the concept asks for that. And if we go more melodramatic with clean sections and despairing vocals, it's because the concept asks for it, or the lyrics. Yeah.
Now that you mentioned concept quite a few times, and also underlining the importance of ideals and all, how would you sum up the concept and ideals of Gaerea for a fan who has never ever read about it or figured it out?
That's fast as fuck.
Yeah, let's do it. Did it?
Well, everything in Gaerea sums up really briefly of being an individual lost in the big city, where you can walk among thousands of people every day and still feel alone because you can't identify with the outside world. So a lot of our lyrics deal with depression, suicide, harsh moments that me or the boys lived in our lives, that we keep it for ourselves but still get it into the concept. Yeah, it deals with a lot of injustice, but still a mindful thing. We don't put much of ourselves into the concept, because I try to be an observer of the outside world. For example, in Mirage, everything is about observing 8 or 9 people, so it's 8 or 9 songs, and all of them speak of a certain individual we met, saw, or heard about, and we just take that vision of what we saw or heard and just put it inside the box that we created for us, and just like mad scientists just watch the character, imagining how the fuck would he get out of that situation, how would he deal with that. And in the end, it's also about rediscovering ourselves, because everything is about perception and your experience in the world. So if I imagine that character would, go nuts or throw himself into the ocean, it's because I would do that. It might be different for you. So yeah, it's all about self-discovering a few elements inside our own psyche. But yeah, it would be like that. A lot of loneliness and despair in certain moments, and Mirage deals a lot with that.
Now, this is something that is related vaguely to your concept and idea, but you have also gotten some criticism for being, I quote, black metal tourists. Also, some of the people are saying like you have a strong political agenda coming from, I guess, what is usually labeled as left-wing ideology or something. Is there any truth to these kind of statements, or is it something that you're okay, we're happy with that, or more like that's total crap? How would you respond to these kind of opinions or statements?
I love how all bands at some point have to deal with this criticism or frustrated people. Yeah, we just laugh about it. We don't care. We don't care. We barely care about frustrated people. These days we barely read the comment sections. We're just very focused on what we're doing. As far as I know, we don't fucking care for politics. We care about how our country is doing, because it of course it's about us. I don't fucking care, man. It's not about politics. It's about people and how they feel in this society or modern world. It has nothing to do with politics. It's all about emotion for us.
Now, why do you think a lot of people have this, I would say, kind of a weird mindset that everything needs to be boxed either left or right, and there can be nothing between? And extreme metal, which has always been more or less kind of anti-establishment and very anti-political, is suddenly being into the very center of this kind of a political black and white thing. how do you feel about it? How does it make you feel that it's this, either you're one of us or either that party, and you cannot be able to choose whatever you are supposed to?
Again, man, I actually never thought of it.
because personally, I feel a lot of frustration. Like when I was younger, I'm gonna expand this a little bit. But when I was younger, I didn't feel that any kind of extreme metal as per se, like political at all. The older I become, it seems like the world is like narrowing down, and it's like about choosing sides, and like I don't want to choose sides because I'm not gonna align with right or left. I'm just like, leave me out of it. And it seems like bands are put into the same kind of fire, like you have to choose sides, even though I don't think that's necessary. But like, isn't it kind of a weird thing that we're living in that kind of a sense?
I just think it's a product of today's world where people don't understand something, but they still have to have an opinion about that. And we know social media just gets all of those thoughts in people's heads where they have this access to an opinion, and since they have it, they will fucking have it. They will write about it even though they're, well, probably don't know shit about the band. So yeah, I think it's just that people just don't understand something, they think it's weird. So yeah, it's probably this, because I don't like it. If I don't like it, it's probably right wing or left, and if I like it, it's probably right wing or left wing. Again, it's so dumb. It's so obsolete to be like that. Can you imagine being a 50-year-old guy at home on Facebook and just writing shit about a band that it's on their 25-year-old?
Exactly. Now another thing which has puzzled me a little bit is that now people want their extreme music scene more diluted, as it's like family-friendly version of black metal or death metal, whatever. And some bands are obviously fighting against it, and some bands like yeah, let's bring more audience. This is for kids and elderly people alike and all that stuff. And these lines kind of got blurred, where an extreme metal ceases to be extreme and becomes more like a mainstream metal band. How does this kind of idea make you feel? Like rounded edges, extreme becoming less of an extreme and all. Is that even important?
Well, it's not that important, but for me, I always had a probably old-fashioned view on how extreme metal should be, because I don't think extreme metal should be safe or woke or be family friendly. It's all about aggression and letting your soul out for a reason. And why the hell would you let all your emotions and feelings go, or just get them to another world if you're still trying to be safe? It's for us. It's a discharge of emotions, really strong emotions, and the way we do it, for me, it's not about to be safe. It's about being uncomfortable. It's about not breathing under the mask. It's about not seeing the audience. It's about for example, not being able to stand at some point because everything is just becomes very harsh on your body. But it's exactly how we want it to be. If we just would get an oxygen thing just to breathe and be very comfortable on stage, and just having this, let's not be so much aggressive with our movements because people might not like it. We just fucking quit the band, because there's no reason for that to be that case. For me, extreme music should be extreme and shouldn't be safe.
Yeah, it would be kind of weird if you had topics like depression and suicide, but in a family-friendly formula. Like, this is kind of a safe way to deal with suicide and depression. Like, don't do it. Just, I don't know.
There are ways to deal with that in a safe way.
Yeah, supposed to. I mean.
Having debates and discussion about it, which is something that we're really open to do that. But again, on our performance, it's not about that. It's about letting these emotions go in a very harsh way for us. And if people can get it, they will understand that it's not a... Look, again, we don't have fireworks or fire or things exploding. It's not about not being safe in that way, but for our bodies, it's a very...
taxing.
Toxic and aggressive thing where we need just some 10 minutes after the show to just breathe back and get get to the level of consciousness where you can have a conversation, because it's very harsh on our bodies. But again, it's how we like to do it.
Now, talking about emotions, let's start with the positive one. What makes you love the world and life? What gives you positive energy?
Well, festivals like this, I miss this like fucking crazy. And for us, it's the first time we're doing these good festivals, like big ones. So this makes me feel alive as fuck. And if we didn't have much bad moments during the pandemic, like harsh depression, I know that a lot of musicians and friends did, but we managed to keep our heads, well, above the water and still work. But I'm happy events like this are able to happen again, so because this is what makes us feel alive. And for me, it's just a new air, and I want to do more of this and more, and for that I need to be alive and conscious to do so. So yeah, being around people that like us and people that might not like us but have a strong opinion of criticism, it's exactly what makes me feel, well, happy to be in this world.
What makes you unhappy, annoyed, pissed off, hateful, resentful?
Well, some of the things we write about, that's why we write about them. Some things are related to stuff we lived. Some things are about stuff, we see. And all of that culminates into this frustration that we need to speak about it and write about it again. Well, depression, suicide, feeling alone in this world, the world we live in, it's supposed to be this vast thing that embraces everyone, but I don't think it works that way. It creates the opposite. People are separated as fuck these days, and people can't cope with other person's opinions, and you can't just go to someone and just say, well, I don't like it because of this and this and this, because no one does that anyway these days. And I think it's something that should happen. Debate, conversation, being able to be real.
Like being an intellectual conversation and discussion about even disagreements.
I think the world would be a way better place if people would be honest, not a cunts, but honest, and read a fucking book sometimes and just have proper conversations and not just discharging everything towards the walls like fucking hillbillies, just being mad about everything, because the world is a mad place these days and we know it. And well, hopefully we will live through an era in 10 or 20 years where we can have these conversations in a more, well, safe environment where people are open enough to just sit down.
Like old school philosophers sit down, and even if they don't disagree with
it can be over a few beers as well. But again, I think we live in a world where people just leave their honesty and transparency at home to go somewhere and be somewhere else, or someone else, which is good. Some people need to escape. But again, it also takes away the things that I think are needed in this world for us to grow as a society, which is, again, learn a bit more about the world, observe. You don't need to always have an opinion. Sometimes you just need to sit back, watch, and well, next time you will speak because you know you heard. And listening is something that I think we should learn more to do so. Listening and not always speaking above each other because, oh, I want this or that. So yeah, again, well, frustration for me would be how the world is becoming a very secluded and very
black
distant,
and white even.
Yeah, black and white world. And well, I think it should be more tones of gray and maybe some color sometimes.
That is a very, very good way to end it. And before that, I'm going to ask you the annoying one. Now, excluding the next new album, which is roughly about the same time this interview, probably give or take. But if you had to pick one baby out of your discography, maybe one song or maybe one release, but not the new one, which one would be the one that the fans, new ones, that is supposed to start with?
Is that supposed to be a hard question?
For some people it is, like pick your one favorite baby. But for some people, it's easy one.
Well, it is. But there's a specific song in the Limbo album that closes part of the concept we started in the Unsettling Whispers album, which is Mare. And it's a massive song. the last song on the Limbo album that I think every new fan or listener should listen to that song, read the lyrics, read the text we wrote for it, and well, that will help them understand where we would like to go in a concept-wise for this band, and that's exactly where Mirage takes off. So yeah, Mare is probably one of my favorite songs we ever did.
Now this is something for you to take on with you when you are finished with the interview, and I hope you had a good time. Now once again, question, converse, discuss, and don't be a cunt. This is Rauta, this is Gaerea, this is Midgardsblot. Take care, stay metal, and stay honest. Thank you so much.